So here we are. Today we will learn the answer to the most important question ever asked. Is Star Trek Elite Force beatable with only the hand phaser? So this is the 7th and final video in the series, and you're going to get your answer one way or the other. There have been a few areas in the game where I thought getting through would actually be impossible and the run would be over. But we were always able to find ourselves a sneaky way through without cheating. But what about the final level, the Forge, and the main boss, the Vohrsoth? We will soon get into it, and you will find that this video is much more heavily edited than the other videos. That is because this level took me exactly 1 hour and 37 minutes to get to the conclusion. No spoilers one way or the other. So I know that nobody wanted to watch an hour and 37-minute long video, so it's very heavily condensed into the best parts. This level was also extremely elevator and cutscene heavy. So after removing the boring waiting parts, it did help the pacing of the challenge run video. We also had 2 crashes during this run. One was during the Beastman cutscene, so I just edited out the time it took me to get back to where I was, since unfortunately I hadn't saved in a while. But the other thing is that this was relatively smooth. Now, I love Star Trek Elite Force, but I have to say that the final level was probably the weakest in my opinion. Maybe this was because it was rushed or the developers were just kind of burnt out near the end. But a lot of the areas in this level were extremely repetitive and dull. It seems like most of the level is just elevator, gang squad, elevator, gang squad. So if you've played this game, you probably also know that the final boss is very disappointing. He has a bad hitbox, which we'll get into more later, bloated HP, he doesn't even move, and he only has 3 attacks, one of which forces extremely annoying camera shake on the player. So if you suffer from motion sickness, you might want to skip the last part of this video. Before I ramble on too long, you can probably figure out that at this point of the game, Voyager has been boarded by the Harvesters, which are like little crab things that all they have is a melee attack, but they are pretty tanky for their size, but not really much of a threat. Basically on this part, all you gotta do is make it to the Harvester ship. I find it funny that in the canon of Star Trek Voyager, the ship has a total of 163 crew, yet like 15 die in this game, which is like a tenth of the entire crew, yet nobody really seems to care. I guess it kind of gives off the original series vibes where Kirk would just sacrifice red shirts every mission. Beastman here does a really great job of jumping in front of me every time I fire my phaser. Okay, so after that cutscene, now begins the actual Forge mission, where our goal is to shut down the dampening field so Voyager can escape. I sure hope nobody has to sacrifice themselves in a blaze of glory to save the rest of the squad, and then be immediately forgotten. This part was just more low-gravity platforming. Not particularly difficult, a few weak enemies spread around, a few hidden turrets, but easily done first try. Look at these lazy dirtbags not willing to move unless I risk my life just to make it easier for them. More realistically, it probably would have just been a nightmare for the devs to try to path that, so they figured that was the most eloquent solution. So now we are introduced to a new major enemy type, the Reavers. They seem to be telepathic, angry armadillos. They're super tanky, and they have a ranged attack that has a small area of effect damage. You're going to notice that there are a lot of jump cuts in this section of the game, since there are a lot of boring walking parts and cutscenes. For the record, I didn't die once in this part of the run. It was very easy compared to the board levels. Basically, my strategy here is going to be pretty similar to what it was in the rest of the game. Initiate a fight, backpedal, let my friends tank and do the damage while I take pot shots from behind cover like a coward. So I got what I deserved there. I fell off, took some damage, and now I have to run all the way back up to fight this especially tanky Reaver. Even if I am behind cover, the Reaver attacks have an AoE, so I keep taking damage. This makes it a lot more difficult than other levels where all I had to do was hide. Side point, this game has some great voice acting, especially from the actor who played Biff in Back to the Future.
Those pieces of debris are from Voyager.
Hey, what the? That's my Nausicaa rescue!
I'm trying to place what the sound effect is of the harvesters walking. It's kind of like tapping your fingernails on a countertop or a chalkboard or something. Either way, it's pretty great. It also kind of sounds like shaking dice inside of a box or something. Typically in a casual playthrough, this would probably be the most difficult level. But once you've beaten the board cube without being able to damage enemies, everything else just seems like child's play. The fact that I can vaporize 2 to 3 Reavers with a phaser's full charge while hiding behind 3 teammates just makes this level so simple. That being said, there still were some pretty difficult parts where they just threw a lot of enemies at you.
There's some of those creatures in these containers. What's that all about?
Watch your back.
Hey, ugly! Wake up here!
Oh wow, that's funny. I have never heard that voice line before because I always had saved Foster. Interesting.
Man, here comes some more!
This is part of the level I was actually kind of worried about. I don't know exactly how it works, if it's time-based or enemy kill-based or a mixture of both, but it seemed like several of the Reavers were invulnerable, and then the other ones would just keep spawning until we triggered Beastman's cutscene. This actually took a lot longer than I expected. The AI did not expect me to hide in this corner, it seems like. A lot of the harvesters just seemed to get glitched in place, and the Reavers would not move to target me. I was trying to figure out if there were specific Reavers that I had to kill in order to progress the cutscene, but I was never sure which ones to hit because the one directly in front of me that I'm aiming at is invulnerable or glitched out or something. While we have a minute here, I wanted to mention a few things. First is that if you enjoyed this playthrough, please leave a like or subscribe, and I'm glad that this time I said subscribe and not subscribe. Also, if you want to play this game, the best place to get it is GOG.com. They sell it for like 5 to 10 USD, depending on if there's a sale. I think it's worth it. I know the official PvP servers are offline now, but there used to be a small community of active players on custom servers like Game Ranger. But it's worth it just for the single player campaign in my opinion. So if you're a Star Trek fan or a Voyager fan, I'd say check it out. I mean, how many games out there do you have the option to vaporize Neelix?
Damn it! I can't get off a good shot!
And there we have it, the most annoying crash of the video. I had not saved in a while, so I had to go back and complete that entire part of the level again. But for brevity's sake of this video, I'm just going to cut it out, back to the part where Beastman sacrificed himself, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, so it's very sad. Beastman is dead. And now we're introduced to another enemy type. I don't know what these things are called, but they're very ugly and they shoot little blue circular wave things at you.
Say they're hostile.
By this point, the level was already starting to get a little repetitive to me. Maybe it's just because I've been playing a lot of Elite Force the last few weeks, or what, I don't know. But it seems like every area was just the same thing now. You walk in and Reavers rush out, and you kill them, and move to the next area, go down an elevator, rinse and repeat. So instead of commentary on the run, right now I figured what I would do is I would just read a list of very cheesy and corny Star Trek jokes. How do you stop from falling out of a bird of prey? You just have to cling on. How many ears does Mr. Spock have? 3. A left ear, a right ear, and a final front ear. Why did Worf change his hair color? Because it was a good day to die. What is the least popular show on Bajor? Keeping Up with the Cardassians. How many crew members of the Voyager does it take to change a light bulb? I don't know, but they'll blow up at least one shuttle while doing it. That one was kind of lame. What do you call a Cardassian on a sailing ship? A seagull. Oh man, I'm reading through the rest of these jokes and they're too bad to even read on this video, but anyways, I hope you enjoy those. So this was actually one of the more interesting parts of this level. It's sort of just a little invisible pathway that you have to use your phaser or something to figure out where the steps are. Not incredibly difficult, but at least it was something different than just going down elevators and fighting Reavers. I feel like a more efficient way to get across this path would have just been to have a bunch of Neelixes or other Talaxians run across and just figure out where the squares were that way. Another thing I've noticed about this level is that those blue circular attacks are kind of inconsistent with their hitboxes. Sometimes they can go through walls, or sometimes they seem to clip on nothing and get stuck. Kind of made it difficult to know where to dodge them.
Dead packs are set and ready to blow.
Acknowledged, Captain. We're en route to the shuttles ourselves.
This part was actually mildly difficult, more annoying than anything. I ended up just sending the allies down the elevator while I watched. Unfortunately, what I realized was that the control panel was at the far end of the elevator, so I would have to take fall damage once they were done killing the Reavers. Yeah, I was hoping I could bypass this part and just run through it because there's just so many enemies here, but I was unsuccessful. This part was actually probably one of the more irritating parts of the run. I had to edit out a lot of me just waiting at the top while my allies did all the damage and a few deaths, so it took me a few minutes to get through this part, but once it was done, it wasn't a big deal. And I, of course, remembered to quick save here because I did not feel like doing this part for like a 10th time or whatever. Elevators may be super annoying in this run because all the time they waste, but they've also saved me and allowed me to recharge my phaser probably 50 times, so I can't complain too much. Abusing elevator mechanics is probably one of the ways I was able to complete this run. I am nearing the end of this level and the end of the game, and now I've gotten some YouTube comments where people are like, well, there's no way you're going to be able to do the end boss, so stay tuned, we're almost there. I'm going to say this, the end boss was kind of a nightmare, but not for the reason you think.
Keep sharp. There may be others.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not super thrilled about only having 9 HP here. So I was able to skip that cutscene and find the health energy terminal. So now we're at the very end part of the game. It's just me by myself, no more allies to take damage for me, so this should be a little bit more difficult for a little bit. Yeah, it was just a little easier to send that one Reaver to Brazil than to kill him. It's kind of funny, while I watch this video and editing, I keep having this muscle memory reflex to hit F5 after everything and quick save. Okay, so we have now arrived at the very end of the game, the final boss battle, the Vohrsoth, or however you say it. And let me tell you, this was a super long, annoying, grindy part of the level. So sit back, relax, and just watch me be tortured for the next, I don't know, however long this takes. My strategy here is pretty obvious. If you're running at full speed, their projectile weapons can't hit you, and the harvesters can't catch up to you. So as long as I run in circles around the edge, take pot shots at the enemies while my phaser is recharged, I should eventually be able to wear down their numbers. Unfortunately for me, at this point in the game, it's designed for you to have almost unlimited ammo for all your weapons, so it just takes a really long time if you're only using the hand phaser because you have the same limited amount of ammo that you always have. There's also 4 or 5 full waves of these guys, and for the mission to progress, you have to wipe out every single one of them. So a lot of this, I'm just going to cut out. Nobody wants to watch me run around in circles for 45 minutes, so I'm going to cut out a lot of it, and you'll move past after this to the next section. If you look at the top of the screen right now, you'll see some Etherians. So they transported in, even though it did show their ship leaving, but whatever. So some Etherians transported in, and they disrupted the little tractor beam thing that was holding up the seed. So they're going to assist me here in destroying the seed, and then once the seed is destroyed, I will start facing the Vohrsoth. Alright, we have now arrived at the final boss, the Vohrsoth. Now, like I said earlier, this is a pretty disappointing boss. I think the devs just kind of run out of steam by this point. He doesn't move, he doesn't spawn ads, thank goodness, but he only has 3 attacks, which he just sort of spams randomly. So avoiding his attacks are not really difficult in any way. His first attack is he just shoots projectiles at you. His second attack is that he flares up and launches like heat-seeking missiles or something. And then the third attack is where he rears up and then he shoots these energy beams out of the ground, which cause your screen to shake a bunch and cause motion sickness for anyone who's sensitive to that. So that's also very annoying. One thing I noticed while fighting the boss is that when I'm shooting at him, you can see my phaser burn marks behind the Vohrsoth, right? It seems like my shots are going directly through him. Now this made me worried that the phaser was not able to damage him and that my shots were going right through him. So I spent around 45 minutes attacking him with the hand phaser and not getting any results, and I started to realize that where I was aiming, or perhaps maybe it wasn't even possible at all, to kill the Vohrsoth with the phaser. So I got kind of bummed out that after all of this, I may not be able to finish my challenge. However, at one point inspiration struck. I noticed that when I shot a specific part of his back with the phaser, that there was no burn marks on the other side, and it looked like it was actually absorbing the damage. So I figured that maybe this enemy just has absolutely terrible hitbox. So I focused all my phaser attacks on this one little section of his back instead of trying to shoot him in the head or other areas. One thing to note, although the attacks are pretty easy to dodge, if you do accidentally get hit by those projectiles, it's basically a one-hit kill. And there it is! The Vohrsoth has been defeated, and I have answered the question that has kept man awake at night for hundreds of years, and that is Star Trek Elite Force beatable by only using a hand phaser? Yes, it is. We now have our nice ending cutscene where Voyager destroys the Forge. All in all, this run took me somewhere around 8 to 9 hours, and it was a lot of fun. If you have Elite Force, I'd say give it a try. It's pretty challenging, and it's a different way to play. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. And if you hated it, leave a dislike and personally attack me in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.